Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet.
Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. My name is Wes Coons, and welcome back to the show. We're like January 10th of 2025, so welcome to the new year. Some disclaimers for this show is we have jets flying over and I have carpenters banging on the back of the house, but I'm not going to re-edit everything. We're just going to roll with it. And Eric Cohen is here today. So Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wes. I love being here for you.
And I love that you're here. What does your family own? Tell me about your family business.
My wife started a Reiki Wellness and Meditation Center probably about 25 years ago, maybe longer. And she had that vision that we would heal the world one healing at a time. And that has turned out to be unbelievable blessing for us. We have Reiki masters in most of the states. We have them in countries, and they continue to teach Reiki to others. We have a program and been blessed to have an incredible life. And Reiki for us is a lifestyle. It's not just about teaching it, we live it. We live it, and I am so grateful that Wes came into my life, because he ultimately, Reiki can come through other people, and you changed my life, and you brought me to a point. I like to say that you brought me to Jesus Christ again, and I had some issues with it, and you took those away from me, and you were also powerful and instrumental in my recovery process. And so I'm so blessed to be here to support you in this last episode, and I am truly honored that you asked me to come.
Well, I appreciate it. What we were going to do is we were going to do the last episode first, but I think I want to talk about your family and about Reiki and stuff first, and we'll record the other one second. How about that?
Okay.
And I can edit that part out. So, or maybe I'll leave it in. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'm just going to go with it.
Let's do it.
Eric, when we just finished recording the last episode of The Haunted House, and the next session, the next progression of this story, because, if you're new to the program, we went through this spiritual awakening that I went through this spiritual awakening that happened to have the most haunted house probably in the world, in my opinion, because it fucking sucked. I can promise you that. And so we went through that in great detail. And so we finished up the last episode, which was the 21 days. What was next? This is what was next. And after everybody left, and after the Reiki people were gone, after the medicine woman was gone, after the priest was gone, I was sitting in my garage. And you got to remember, Eric, the property is about an acre. You've never been to the house. And it's more rectangle shaped. So it was wider than it was deep. And there's this fingerling of water that came up to the back. And the house was, 4,800 square feet. It was beautiful. We had this custom outside swimming pool put in, 1,000 foot of pavers, this beautiful custom gazebo and sunroom that I never got to use. I never fucking used it because I didn't live there. Now the medicine woman is gone and the house has been fixed, right? So, I'm standing in this detached garage and I was by myself. One of the things that had just happened was this, we did 2 exorcisms, one with a minister guy, one with a priest, and then went up to Lakota. And Lakota, you've been to the mountain, you've done ceremony there. And we did this rebirthing ceremony when this big ass fucking demon left my body. So, I am 30 days into being alone in my own body for the first time since I was a child. Dude, it was unnerving. Because I didn't realize those things were there. But I mean, you have a family and you have children, so it's kind of like you come home and all of a sudden the family's at Busch Gardens for the day, and you're by yourself. It's eerily weird, right? And I just remember feeling so alone, and I was still scared. So you can hear the hammers in the background. So sorry, guys, we're not going to re-record. We're going to keep going. So, but I'm sitting there, Eric, and, I'm getting ready to sell the house. I think it was already on the market at this point. And I had what I was going to take with me literally in a pile in the garage. I left that house. When I sold the house, I sold the fucking toilet paper, the toothbrush, the toothpaste holder, the toilet scrubber, the sheets on the bed, the fucking bed, the TV, the remote control, the sofa, the everything, dude. I walked away.
You were done.
Yeah. The guy gave me like $15,000 for the stuff, and I'm like, I'll take it. I mean, all the furniture is brand new. Dude, this motherfucker has pictures of my family on the wall. I'm like, well, he's like, do you want this? I'm like, fuck those fuckers. I'm gone, man. I only took a couple things. I literally, what I could fit in my trailer, which is only a third full when I left. And that was a grab and go. Ty came, a couple other people. We grabbed that shit and threw it in there so fast because I was terrified to be there. I'm standing in the garage, and I've never felt so alone. Then all of a sudden, this little finch comes, and I've got a picture of it. I'll show you. This finch comes, lands, walks up to my feet. When does that happen? I reach down and I pick up this little bird and I'm petting it. It's my mom. My mom came to see me.
Yeah.
She took over that bird and came to see me. And dude, I held that bird for maybe a minute and a half with an open hand. I'm just petting this thing. And all of a sudden it shook his head and his eyes got really big and it took off. And that was my mother coming to tell me that she loved me, man, and that I wasn't alone. I just looked around the room. I just couldn't do anything. So I left, at that point. I was so broken. I mean, going into combat, doing the things that you do as a Marine, being in the Marine Corps, the things that the traumas that I've experienced in my life, none of that compared to what I just went through. I mean, I was a shell of a person. The addiction from before, just everything was fucking nothing, Eric. I mean, it was like a nuclear bomb went off and I was alive. Right.
Yeah. I've had some low times like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The best part about being that low?
You can't go lower unless I blew my brains out. I'm
That's
with
right.
you.
That's right. And we ain't going to do that,
Not today.
My sponsor, Joe W., told me when I first met him that is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it took me a while to understand that, because you get in that mindset of everything is so bad. And you believe that, your wife, Trinae, tells us that those feelings and emotions are a fucking lie, right?
They're a lie.
Yeah. So why would that be a lie? How, if I feel so desperate, can you explain why that would be a lie?
Well, our emotions tell a story. So if I'm vested in a story that I believe is to be true, and that emotion pops up, I'm going to go down that road again.
Yeah.
So there's an old saying that I heard somewhere that victims never recover. And that stuck to me. I don't know if that was in the 90s or when it was. There was this codependency thing going on, and there was a book called Codependent No More, and I'm in the rooms getting sober and clean myself at a young age, and my wife was teaching about these emotional things.
Yeah.
And she was onto something. She really was onto something. I mean, I'm here because of her. I'm still on this planet because of the love that she gave me. And, we had a rocky road. She had to kick me to the curb.
Hey, your wife scares me a little bit, Zod. But
hell, she scares me.
I know, right? But she saved me. She saved us both. What you're saying is that story, the story that they've adopted, and I'm not saying that your story isn't valid. I'm not saying that your story isn't real. I'm not saying that thing that happened to you isn't legitimate. What I'm saying is that story is a fucking lie, right?
Yeah.
Because my story was I was weak, ugly, and stupid. My story was I don't deserve a seat at the table of these board of directors of my equals. They really weren't my equals because I'm fucking dude, I taught most of them how to do what the fuck they're doing.
Mm.
They just don't want to admit it because, that's how real estate people can be sometimes. But, at the end of the day, I am their equal. I'm not lesser than. And, I'm not greater than either. I am their equal. But in my mind, I couldn't be there. And, so the point is that story that I told myself was a fucking lie. And my feelings were based off of a lie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And it's temporary because we teach you how to heal just like that.
Yeah.
Trinae teaches us that. You teach us that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting there. Mom flies away. And, what didn't happen is all of a sudden the clouds opened up and the burning fucking bush lit on fire and went, this is God and you are saved. None of that fucking shit happened, dude. None of that shit happened. But what did happen is I put a foot in front of the next.
Amen.
And I didn't know where to go at that point because I was so broken. Now, you got to remember, COVID was starting to turn on, and the housing in America, there was a shortage of homes, right? Well, it wasn't quite a shortage yet. We had a kind of a stale market, but we're getting ready to go into this housing shortage. And long story short, I went and I was looking for a winter rental at the oceanfront. So if you're in the Virginia Beach market or certain markets, they have temporary rentals of fully furnished $1 million homes in most instances. Yeah. So I go on there and I'm used to getting what the fuck I want, right?
Absolutely.
I work hard. I had a lot of money. I made a lot of money. And so I'm looking at this website. And if you don't know, in Virginia Beach, Eric, what is it 67th Street at the oceanfront in Virginia Beach?
At 67th Street is a place called the ARE, and it is the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And it was founded by the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar decided that he needed to move from Kentucky to a place that had a vortex, basically. So he builds this big building up on the hill that ended up, I think it became a hospital during World War II, I believe. I don't know the exact history of it, but.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a real modern building there now, which is the ARE. And he would lay on a couch and people would, bring him problems that they had, medical problems or just different problems. And he would go into a trance and he would say, oh, how about some elder oil berry and some castor oil? 80% of his readings were about
castor oil.
Castor oil.
Yeah.
So you can go in the third story at 67th Street upstairs and go in the library and you can look up every single reading that he gave. It shows you the prognosis. It shows you what happened. And there was formulas associated with that. And, there are places out there where you can buy those formulas. And that was, believe it or not, it was right near where I did business for 30 some years. I still have a business there, which is the center. And they would mix this in the back of the Rite Aid and sell it at the place called the Heritage.
Did they? I didn't know they did.
Oh,
that.
they did that. Yeah, the guys over there were, the Heritage was this real hippie place, but there was always a distinction between the Heritage and the ARE. It was like this battle they had.
Mm-hmm.
And, and my wife actually wanted to open up a business where, my wife was a cleavage, high heel woman and who wanted to meld East and West.
Yeah.
She wanted to bring that East healing to the West. And, so, she didn't want to, have this whole hippie granola poor life mentality. So she brought some class to holistic healing.
Yeah.
And that's what she did.
She did. And she does. She does. And, today's a class act. And so, I'm looking for somewhere to rent. And, dude, I know this is shocking for everybody, but I wasn't always this fucking holy and spiritual, bro. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, fuck that, man. I'm going to be at Croatan. Croatan's cool. They had some pretty badass places there. I mean, I could put my Jeep. I could put my truck. I could put my Maserati. I had some toys. And I'm like, I got my dog. And they all turned me down for the rental. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Mm.
I mean, there was no reason why I was turned down.
Mm.
I financially qualified for it. I was right as rain. I'm in real estate. I know what I qualified. Everybody turned me down. So the only place to go was this house, this 3-story house on 67th Street. So if you're
Mhm.
in that building and you're in the master bedroom and you look out, you look directly into the top window of that building at the Edgar Casey place,
How cool is that?
right? And I'm determined I am not going to be down there. I'm not going to be these fucking hippies. I'm not going to be doing this stupid shit. You know, fuck these motherfuckers. You know, that was my mentality. What I didn't realize, well, let me take a step back. When I called the lady and I mentioned the address, she says, "Yeah, you're approved." I'm like, "Well, I haven't made application." She said, "Mr. Coons, we recognize your name. You know, I'm in real estate, so, you know, not an ego thing." She just knew who I was, and that was very kind. And she said, "You're approved." I'm like, "Well, all right, so fuck. Let me bring you a check. Will you take a check?" She said, "We'll take your check." I'm like, "All right, let me bounce it towards you, you know, they're bouncing off the wall. Here it is, motherfucker." But I didn't realize it until I went there. There's a vortex there. There's a
Mhm.
bubble, and God wanted me to be inside that bubble. I needed extra protection.
Mhm.
So I really only had a couple instances that I was uncomfortable in that house, that whole 9 months I was there.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, uncomfortable meaning there was some demonic energy or something that was really powerful messing with me, but I needed that protection and I didn't realize it. But one of the things I learned early, Eric, is when you live in a 3-story walk up like that, are my keys on the first floor, the third floor, the second floor? They, you know, I created found this drawer downstairs and said, all my keys go right here.
That's
You
right.
know, and so I moved into that place. And if you guys remember early on in the show, that Yorkie Sugar, that wasn't my dog. That was my ex-girlfriend's dog. And Sugar left about 5 days before the haunted house started, really. And she came back 5 days after I moved into that place.
Mm.
So Christina calls me up and she's like, "Look, I can't keep her." My friend Karen was doing some long distance healing and clearing of energies. And I'm like, "Karen, I gotta go see this girl." And I know she's covered in demons and stuff.
Mm.
And I went over to get her and I could see some things in this young lady that I don't wish for anybody, but as she handed me the dog, these things were jumping on me and crawling up my arm, and the dog was crawling all over the dog, and I could see that shit. And so I'm in my Jeep, and we stop. Actually, I think we're at the Heritage parking lot. So I called Karen. I said, "Hey, can you clear us?" You know, I had it pre-planned. She knew, she was waiting, and Sugar's jumping all over the car. And as Karen said yes, about 10 seconds later, Sugar stops jumping all over the car, lays down and whimpers for about 35, 40 seconds. And then about a minute later, she calls, said, "Okay, I cleared everything."
Mm.
Sugar was crying as that stuff was being pulled off of her, right? But, you know, honestly, we didn't get it all off. It took us like 3 weeks of clearing shit to get all the little creepy crawlies out, because those little bastards are, you know, they're savvy, right? And so I went home and I brought Sugar home, and Kennedy had lost like 20, 25 pounds. She's a 70-pound dog, so that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And she just, you know, for that entire 8 or 9 months would just look out the window. She was smart enough to know which direction the dog would come down the street if she was coming home.
Right.
And it was funny because when we moved in that house, literally 2 days before Sugar came home, Kennedy stopped looking for her.
Mm.
I remember texting somebody and saying, I think it was time, like, Kennedy, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, she gave up on her friend.
Yeah.
And then, so they came home and I got this video of them kissing each other, and Kennedy walked upstairs and ate her bowl of food and started putting weight on. And
Mm.
I got my girl back, you know, her family's back, but Sugar's never the same. You know, my ex's boyfriend abused her and stuff. So Sugar never really reconnected with me. But long story short, we moved life moved forward, and, you know, Sugar did what Sugar wanted to do. She was,
Oh yeah.
she was crazy. That dog is strong.
But her and Kennedy were tight though.
Yeah, they were tight. They're good. They're best of friends. And so, you know, now I'm in this house and trying to figure out how to rebuild. I lost all this money on the home that I was selling. I ended up selling it relatively quickly. And people asked me, oh, did you sell it and walk away? I'm like, fuck that. What am I going to sell it to you and say, hey, well, it's a great house, and all of a sudden all these demons are going to destroy your family? That does not work for me. So we got it fixed, and luckily the guy that bought it's probably one of the most disconnected people on the planet. So that worked for him. And if you remember in like episode 8 or something, we did that big ceremony just before 4th of July weekend. And at the end, the psychic that was helping us, Eric, I don't know if you listened to that episode or not, but he says, oh, I'm going to be the curator of that property from now on. I'm like, the fuck I am. I'm like, I am not staying here the rest of my life. If all these bitches want to pitch in $1 a month per entity, I'd probably have a couple $100,000 a month coming in, but nobody wanted to pay. Because so as we fast forward in that day, I planted a tree, then I put some sacred stones out there to honor what had happened there, right? And they said that the house would pick its owner.
Yeah.
The house would pick its owner. And this guy.
And it did.
Yeah, this guy came along, great guy. And he lives there by himself. I don't know if he's married now. It's been a few years. But, every time I see him or talk to him, I'm like, how you sleeping? And he loves it because the house has been fixed, right? But, even though the house was fixed, people would come in the house and they said, gosh, we love it, but just something doesn't feel right. The house picked its owner. And he's, I don't think he was in the military, but, he's a tough guy. He's a masculine man. And, they needed the energy that he brought suited that place. And I think he's very, very happy there.
I think so too.
There is no refund if he is not. So, but I'm out of there. The house is happy. He's happy. The dogs are happy. And I'm just broken, dude. I'm fucking broken. And you guys can still hear the hammer in the background. Sorry about that. So I'm looking for something.
How appropriate.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'm looking for something, but I don't know what I'm looking for. And there was an office space down off Alaskan Road, and it was an attorney's office, and the attorney's last name was similar to the word Reiki.
Right.
And I kept seeing that, and I remember Sandra Grace talking about it, and I'm like, well, let me Google it. Then there's the Reiki Wellness Center, right? That's you guys.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right. So I call, and Jessica answers the phone. And I'm like, I'd like to have an appointment. And she says, yeah, we're 6 weeks out. I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is what I said. And she said, no, it's 6 weeks out. I said, oh, I understand. I'll see you tomorrow. She's like, no, Mr. Coons, there's no space for you. It's 6 weeks out. I said, okay, I'll take that appointment and I'll see you tomorrow. And she's like, okay. 15 minutes later, she calls me. She says, hey, we have an appointment tomorrow at 11. Can you come? I'm like, I know. I didn't realize I had gifts yet. I just knew I was going to see Trinae. And, I walked in there and I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. I didn't know why I was there. I knew I was supposed to be there and still didn't understand Reiki. And Trinae does, tell them how she helps people besides Reiki.
So my wife is a life coach. So she is a coach. She's also a very world-renowned psychic as well. She calls herself an intuitive, and she has clients all over the world, actually. And she has been doing that for a long time. She was born with the gift. And I tell you, it's tough being married to a psychic.
Hey, dude, man. Yeah.
She knew stuff with me that made me feel very uncomfortable, and I knew it, and we all knew it, and we've got a story. I can tell you that. Her and I have a story, but she loved me through all that. And our story is one of, she took me back. I thought she was done with me because I was, I wasn't the greatest guy in the world. And my addictions got a hold of me again. And we worked it out. So we have worked it. We are continuing to work things out, and we are helping people who are in the same situation as we are. So she is a phenomenal marriage counselor. She's a minister. She marries people. Obviously she's a Reiki master's teacher, and she's channeled Takata. If you do any Reiki history, her story is phenomenal. But she is one that has created programs. She helps the Gold Star Wives. She's a phenomenal speaker and a leader of retreat weekends.
What are Gold Star Wives?
Gold Star Wives are wives who have lost Special Forces members. So Special Forces has a foundation set up that bring these wives, these survivors, to weekends and treats them for their healing. So, Trinae has been a facilitator of that healing and has helped them. She's written a book, and she's my rock star.
Yeah. So, Eric, what is the name of Trinae's book? I mean, it did really, really well. It's doing very well.
The Manifestation Blueprint.
Yeah.
That's the name of the book.
Yeah. And it's a great book, So, Trinae helps people, and I'm sitting here in this chair staring at this lady, uncomfortable as fucking shit. I mean, more than broken. Don't know what I'm doing, where I'm at, where I'm going. Lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over this year. I wasn't working, selling this house that I'd put $150,000 pool and stuff in the backyard, and I was blessed enough to pay cash for it, and now I'm selling it for less than I paid for it, right? So besides the monetary part, which I really didn't fucking care about, money never really motivated me, right? It was doing the right thing and helping people and stuff. But I'm sitting there, and
that's a quality that I admire in you. Just so you know, I don't know if I've ever told you that, but I know you, and that's a genuine statement.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I could be a bougie motherfucker, but, at the end of the day, it's not what runs me. It's just changing people's lives.
Amen.
It's what I've always wanted to do. It's funny, growing up, I'm told, as men, we're told you're weak. I used to be told all the time by my dad, you need to toughen up, you need thicker skin, you need this, you need that. And I'm like, you need to fuck off. I love you. And he meant well. It's just who he was. Dad is the second most disconnected man on the planet.
I had one of those.
Yeah. And I know he loves me. It's just, we're not going to talk about feelings and emotions, and that's okay.
No.
That's okay. That's my job, not his job. And I remember Trinae said one day, after that session, I signed up for Reiki 1. I didn't know what it was. And, I'm pretty much a blind faith guy. If somebody says something that resonates with me, I'm going to sign the contract and go. And, there's been many times I'm showing up at the wellness center. I'm like, why am I here? And they're like, Jesus Christ, we're teaching a class, and this is the class. I'm like, okay.
This is a true statement.
Yeah.
I've witnessed it.
Remember the Well-Heeled Warrior?
Yes.
God, I came in there. I was sick, and I was on cold medicine. I was fucking high as a kite from the cold medicine. I made probably an ass out of myself. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? But it was funny. And I was in that program for a year. And so I show up at this Reiki thing, and the only reason I was there is I didn't know what to do next, and I was terrified. I was terrified they were going to come back. Because Sandra Grace can't always be there. Linda's not always going to be there. Kathleen, just everybody, all these people aren't going to surround me the rest of my life. I was alone now. I was where I was supposed to be. They finished their job. They saved my life, and they went on with their life, right? And I'm sitting here in this class.
I'll tell you a quick story about that jet noise that we're listening to. It used to drive me crazy. And my wife said to me, Eric, think about that young pilot flying that $50 million aircraft. That dude is just living his best life. And that changed me to the jet noise, because the jet noise used to drive me crazy.
Yeah. Well, we call it the Virginia Beach pause, But at the end of the day, if you really look at a pilot, I've never really paid attention to this, but if you look at a pilot as a combat person, because they are in a combat position. So they're 500 miles behind enemy lines. If they get shot down, they're by themselves. If they get shot, they're by themselves. If something happens, they're by themselves. If their equipment goes out, they're by themselves. they're going to be, if they survive what they land or parachute out, they're going to be cut into pieces most likely. And, our government doesn't give a fuck about us. Let's be honest, as military, they're probably not going to come and get us or can't come get us. When I started thinking about that, I was like, man, those men and women, dude, they're powerful, bro.
Special breed.
Yeah. So they're sitting on a $50 million jet strapped to their ass. I mean, I'd like to go for a trip. Wouldn't you? So we're sitting there, we're in Reiki 1 class, and Trinae says, you can take Reiki, you can get a certificate, you can go all the way through Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and take a master class and become a master teacher, whatever. Or you can live a Reiki blessed life. And I never forgot that. I didn't know what a Reiki blessed life is, but I knew it sounded good, and my life was painful. Everything was painful. I wasn't healing from shit. I'd been to talk therapy. That was a joke. I mean, the therapists were more fucked up than me, right? And that's saying something, but she said it with such clarity and sincerity. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm going for that. And I knew at some point after that, once, after Reiki 1, I really started to pay attention that I might have some gifts, and I didn't understand that. And I remember asking Sandra Grace one day, I said, Sandra, do you think I have any gifts? And she just looked at me with this smile, and she said, oh, bless your heart, and if you're from the South, that means you're a dumb bastard, right? And, but she looked at me, she said, bless your heart, honey. She said, you know that thing that you just did? And I forget what we were doing. I said, yeah. She says, I know people that can't do that after 15 years. You picked it up and did it the first time, and I didn't tell you how to do it. She says, she'd say all the time, I'm curious to see what you're going to become.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me too. Me too. And, Sandra Grace is now in heaven, and I hear her all the time. And I never forgot that. I'm like, okay. And in my mind, for me to be the most powerful healer I know I can be, I needed to fix what was between my ears.
So tell us about Reiki 1 for you. What's the fundamental part of Reiki 1?
Reiki 1 is all about self-healing, right? So if you know Wes Coons at all, I'm going to look at something, I'm going to figure out this is step 1, 2, and 3, and I'm done, right? So if you look at how that was set up, Eric, because that was January. COVID was turning on. About that time, the couple days after that class, the first governor shut down one of the states. I'm like, fuck, these motherfuckers are going to follow this shit. And you know what happened after that. But Reiki 1 is about self-healing. So in my infinite wisdom, because I'm always right, I'm like, I could do 1, 2, and 3. I'll be a master by March.
Oh, yeah.
I can heal all of these people.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing lined up for me. I'm hanging out with Jessica at the office. I'm like, oh, so what date are you doing for Reiki 2? The only weekend I can't go is this weekend, just so you know. And when do you think it was picked? I couldn't go, and I couldn't go, and I couldn't go, and I couldn't go. And I remember being so angry about that. And I'm sure I had a conversation with your wife or you or somebody. Level 1's about self-healing. And guess what I wasn't doing? I didn't want to heal me because I fucking hated myself so much. I'm going to save the world. Well, what happens when you're in the airplane, Eric, and the oxygen mask comes down? Who gets it first?
You got to take it first.
Yeah, the parent gets it, then the child.
Yeah.
You have to save yourself. I'm helping somebody do a real estate transaction right now. Very kind soul. And she saves all these animals and does these things. And she's a beautiful, beautiful person. And I told her yesterday on something, I said, isn't it time for you to save you? Because you're saving everybody else. There's stuff going on. Everybody has things. And not to get into her stuff, but she's always looking, and I was always looking at how do I help somebody else? I'm this beautiful person. And funny thing, I was talking to Andrea. I was on the board of directors of our local MLS a number of years ago. And she said, I couldn't stand you when you're on that board.
Hmm.
And dude, that hurt my fucking feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that hurt when she said that. And she wasn't being mean, but that was the energy that I carried. I was married at the time. I was going through, I mean, let's be honest, at that time I had a back injury. I was struggling for prescription pain pills. I was in extraordinary amount of pain. I mean, there was many instances where people had to help me walk from my car to get in that building. It was that painful. And, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'll do anything for anybody. I was so in victim energy,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't understand what it was. So in my thinking, if I'm nicer to people, if I'm kinder to people, if I'm more subservient to people, if I bow down and let the leaders step forward and I support you at a higher level, then I'll be part of the group.
Well,
And
you'll be validated.
Yeah.
You'll have worth in that.
yeah, they'll see that I'm part of the team.
How great you are.
Yeah. And you know what they're fucking picking up is he's weak. He's a victim. Believe in himself. He doesn't love himself. And I see that in people, and I'm like, the victim energy is bleeding out of you at such a high level. It's like, fuck, just pour kerosene over yourself before you walk out the door. It'll be easier to acknowledge the kerosene than the victim energy. And she helped me understand that. And, I'm grateful that she shared that with me. And I'm like, and then she said, you're so much more fun to be around now. You do these things, and I'm not perfect. Damn, I'm not perfect. But, that's what level 1 is all about.
Yeah.
And dude, so let me ask you this. Can you tell us quickly, what is Reiki?
Reiki. The definition of Reiki is universal life force energy. So, in a Reiki blessed life, I am working on keeping a frequency high, meaning I'm thinking about love. I'm thinking about my granddaughter's face last time I saw it. I'm thinking about my dog who just wants to lick on me and jump in my lap. I'm thinking about that kiss that my wife did this morning when I left. I'm thinking about these things. I'm on a text thread that someone says, send healing to my daughter. So I see that. And what I do is I envision my granddaughter's face and I send that just like that. I will share this. What's his name? That great person, Einstein. Einstein said,
I thought you were going to say Wes Coons.
Yes, exactly. Einstein said that his theory of relativity would be disproved. And Einstein's theory of relativity says that it's based on the speed of light. And he said that it would be disproved one day because you can send a thought to a faraway star in a faraway galaxy in an instant, which exceeds the speed of light. And they've done experiments now. You can watch it on Netflix. There's a guy there's a pendulum in California and he's on the East Coast and he's thinking about that pendulum and he can make that pendulum move on the West Coast.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So we're talking about quantum physics here.
Yeah.
So this Reiki energy is being proven on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. I'll share this. So I was thinking about Lakota one day and I thought, you know what? I want her to, I send her some love. You
got a phone call, didn't you?
I did. I got a phone call within 20 minutes of me sending her a message in my mind, And there's books about this. I mean, there's books that the Aborigines went on walks without speaking and animals would come to them when they were hungry. And this isn't anything new. This is ancient wisdom that is being brought to the masses today. And, we're part of the teachers. We're part of that love vibration, Love is at the frequency of 528.
Yeah.
And that's the color green, and that's the heart chakra. So I can go on and on, Wes, because I live this. I breathe this.
You do.
I do. So thank you.
You do. No, you're welcome. And I know for me, I have, I've got a healing business because of you guys. And I think I've done probably 1,500 healings at this point. Isn't that fucking crazy?
No.
I think it's crazy. One person.
Yeah.
How many Reiki masters, and they don't even have to be a master, how many Reiki people do you think you guys certified in your 25, 30 years?
I often try to figure that out because I'm a numbers guy,
Yeah.
So I think about it. It's 100,000 plus.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a lot of people.
because it's immeasurable, because I don't know how many that the other centers or the other people have done,
Mhm.
So I know we helped facilitate a guy had come to my wife that had been diagnosed with cancer. He was given 6 months to live.
Mm-hmm.
Wealthy guy, local guy here. And his friend, who was a Reiki master, said, "Oh, you got to come see this lady, come see Trinae." So he comes to see Trinae, and she says, I can't help you. Sends the guy away. Can't help him. Well, the guy's kind of rich. He's a smart guy. So he books another appointment. And he comes back and he wants to know why she can't help him. And I love this story. And she looks at him and she says, she sees something different in his eyes. And he really wants to know why. And he goes, "Well, I couldn't help you before because you had already believed what Duke told you.
Mm-hmm.
Duke already told you were going to die. Your doctors said you were going to die and you believed them.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help you there. But today I see something different. Are you willing to go to any length and follow a certain protocol?" And he said yes. So he returned to his faith. He was Catholic, and he changed his diet. She made some suggestions. And I'm here to tell you that gentleman's still around.
Is he really? That's
He
cool.
is. And he let us
Like
use
that.
his hotel. We would do the DoubleTree Hotel, and we would put a little Reiki sign up there, and we would teach our classes, and we would set up 7 or 8 tables. And just the vibration of the clinic, from the students and all the healings, people would come in from the hotel to come in for a healing.
Yeah.
And we would do 250 healings on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It was absolutely phenomenal. This was, I don't know, in 2012 maybe, I think. And it has been a phenomenal journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we're just getting started. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but
It is. I mean, I don't know how to do the math and figure that out, but the butterfly effect, you drop the rock in the water and the ripple goes across the lake. I mean, the ripple that your family has created is a fucking tsunami. I mean, why do you think the dark, in my mind with stuff where the dark, they didn't want me to survive that house for a reason. And I can tell you, Eric, one thing you don't want to do is piss off a fucking Marine and then give that motherfucker some weapons that'll kick their ass. Like when they gave me the golden armor of God and my gifts and stuff, I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. Then Trinae and Margaret told me one day, I think it was Margaret and Sandra Grace, all of them, I'd pull things out of people and I'd break its fucking neck and just throw it, throw it to the sacred flame. And they're like, well, maybe you do it with unconditional love.
Amen. Hey,
Dude, that pissed me off so bad. Because in my mind, I'm like, fuck you, man. Fuck your ass. And as a Marine, I mean, we don't go into Saddam Hussein's house. Oh, let me pray for you. No, we'll pray after we kill you. How about that? And our motto there was kill everybody and let God sort it out. We're combat Marines. We're young men.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about that because I'm open. I know enough that I'm the problem.
But I see you healing those young minds now. So I see you being part of the solution.
Yeah. And I listen.
Mm-hmm.
I listen. And so you know what happened? About a week later, I'm like, fuck, all right. I'm gonna fucking prove you wrong. As I was pulling something that didn't need to be there, and it doesn't mean it's demonic, there was just things that are there, right? And I was getting ready to break its neck, and I said the Ho'oponopono prayer. What's the Ho'oponopono prayer? Do you know that? You know that.
I do know it.
What is it?
Please forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you.
That's right. You're thanking yourself. You're loving yourself. You're forgiving yourself. You're raising your vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And-
Cleaning. You're cleaning the world.
Yeah. And I said
by
that,
cleaning yourself.
that's right. It all starts with us. It starts and ends with us.
Mm.
And I said that prayer, and that thing went limp in my hand, and I pulled it out.
Mm.
And you know what it said when I was done? I still place it. When I do a healing session, there's a candle there, and whatever comes out goes to the foot of Jesus, and that is the portal to the foot of Jesus. And it said, thank you.
Mm.
It said, thank you.
Pilemaye.
Yeah. Oh. And it wasn't bad. It just didn't need to be there. It served a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That pain that was in that lady's hip that I pulled out, and in that energy or whatever, that energetic parasite or whatever you want to call that, or, some people say none of that's real. It's just, I'm just removing energy. I don't know. As I progress and grow and heal and become more powerful, I don't see things like I did then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see things like snakes that I was pulling out and stuff. It's changed as I've healed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it said, thank you. And I've had instances where I pulled it out and I've been told, do not send it to the foot of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That I've had the client say, hey, thank you for that pain in that hip from that lady or that gentleman has been there since they were, whatever happened to them. That's where that manifested in their body. That energy wasn't supposed to go to the foot of Jesus. And I have them talk to it and say, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for loving me so much that you kept that pain in my hip for it to be healed today. And now it's time for you to go wherever you need to go next to help the next person. And this is an instance where I can't clear it. And we go to this level and it'll clear every single time. And it releases and I hold it up and I can see the energy leave the room and go wherever it's supposed to go. Well, it's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, no.
It's fucking crazy.
It's so great. And we all heal in different ways. So we teach a basic form of Reiki, and then people take their talents and their life instances to it. So we have herbologists, we've got attorneys, we've got real estate agents, we've got people who take their trade of what they know and then they apply the Reiki principles to it. And some of them can become really powerful quickly because they were already manifesting creators and giants before the Reiki.
Yeah.
It's just a mind shift. It's what story am I telling myself today that I'm believing?
Yeah.
Or am I getting up in the morning saying, God, put me in position. I don't need to be understood anymore. I want to understand.
Yeah.
Help me to love. I don't need to be loved, but let me love somebody. Let me go. Put me where I need to go. That for me, it's always the challenge of God's will versus my will.
Yeah.
And for me, it's when I help other people, I get out of my own way and I listen to the whisper. There's a whisper that Trinae talks about. And today I want to follow that whisper, that consciousness that there's an intuition inside that tells me if it's, right or wrong, and I can listen to it today.
Yeah.
And when I don't listen to it, when I want to go shooting at the gun range instead of helping my daughter, I got to take a look at that and go, oh, it must be God's will I go shooting today. Yeah. Or I can go, you know what? I need to go help my daughter. I got to put my will aside. And that was the hardest thing that I've had to learn.
Yeah.
On this journey on this planet. And I've learned it late.
Yeah.
But I'm learning it.
I think one of my favorite things I like to say is, especially when you've been hurt, is we're on a soul contract. Like this relationship I came out of last year. You know about that. You're like, thank fucking God you don't talk about that shit to me anymore. I mean, your eyes would glaze over. I'm like, fuck you, Eric. I know I'm a fucking reflection for everything that I'm talking about. Fuck you. Just fuck you. I said that at breakfast. Eric and I do Sunday breakfast together a lot. And I'm telling him something and his eyes glaze over. I'm like, fuck you for making me a reflection of myself. But it is. But, my favorite thing to say is that individual in your life that broke you at such a level, the real answer is they loved you so fucking much that their soul came in and fucking destroyed you because that was our contract, and their higher self and their soul did that work. So you have an option to put yourself back together the way you're supposed to be, or stay broken and go down the road. Because at that point, it's your journey. It's your responsibility. And as a grown-ass 55-year-old man, I take fucking responsibility for my stuff. And I make mistakes all the time. Hell, a couple episodes ago, 2 episodes on here where Andrea and I had a bit of something. I've come on here and I've admitted my wrongdoings and I've made an amends. And I am loving her from where she's at. She's not on the program anymore. We're not doing projects anymore. It's not our journey to do that right now. And I appreciate that. And we're still friends.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to lose a fucking friendship because Wes is hard-headed and stupid.
That's growth.
It's growth, right? And I know Andrea's listening to the show. Hey, Andrea. And
hey, girl, keep getting it.
Yeah, eat them tacos, girl. But, we're still friends, and that's okay. I might not like it, but you know what fucking she did for me? She would tell me who I was when going through this podcast, literally being on this floor on my hands and knees and fucking screaming in pain after doing a podcast or having to stop. It's been that painful. And she's like, don't you forget who you are. You were powerful. You've got gifts. She called it talent stacking. I'm like, I don't know what that means. She's like, you've got all these talents. You stack them on top of each other. And this is who you are. You're going to be a world healer. You're going to a global level. And she's not on this journey with me right now. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I was talking to her last night, and she's like, don't fucking forget who you are. Do your podcast. Do your stuff. I'll help you. I'll tell you what to do. She's just working on other projects, and she's in love. So she's off with her boyfriend, which is fucking cool. And so she was here for a season at that level, but she's here for another season at a different level. But I tell you what, the day I walk out on that fucking world stage, you fucking don't think you motherfuckers are walking out there with me. You're going to be there too, because I know that's where I'm going. And maybe this is the world stage. Maybe this podcast is it. I don't know. But we've had over 3,100 episodes downloaded. We're in, I don't know how many countries. You go to YouTube and all that stuff, Eric. We're in 80 plus fucking countries. People are hearing our message around the world, and fuck the darkness.
That's what I say.
Because they fucked up pissing me off.
Yeah.
And, I am going to bring God's word to the world.
You are.
And it's cool.
It's way cool.
So, Eric, this is episode 1 of our spiritual journey, and I've been so excited to get here. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I have a feeling you're going to be on a lot more shows.
And I thank you. This is my first podcast. I was thinking, what the fuck is a podcast? So it's been fun for me. I love to talk, and I've got a big project coming up too. And I'll share that with you if you allow me to.
Yeah.
And it's a big project, and it's really close to my heart, and it's about the darkness. And
we can talk about that now, or when you're ready, we can talk about it anytime you want.
I'll talk about it now, if you don't mind. I lost my son.
Yeah, I know you did.
To fentanyl. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing a fuck fentanyl shirt right now. And I'm starting a foundation called Families and Friends Affected by Fentanyl. It's a triple F. And it's a foundation and an organization that's going to help families, because we were in this boat and we didn't know what to do. And we had a few people that reached out to us, but we want to make that available to the world. I got a goal. We're going to put Narcan in every 7-Eleven, every Wawa, every venue, any venue where rock and roll is played, or any venue that will have it should have Narcan.
Yeah.
We are losing countless people. I joined not even a unique organization, basically, or a situation, we'll call it. I was among 250,000 to 350,000 parents who celebrated this Christmas without a young person. I had to bury a kid. I didn't bury him. We have a different philosophy in our family, but I'll tell you that 15 parents this weekend will have lost their high school student in the United States.
Yeah.
3 a day in the United States
Mm-hmm.
this week. And this statistic goes back 5 years.
Yeah, it's way more than that.
It's insane.
It's got to be fucking 15, 20 times.
So I'm going to go out there and I'm like a dog with a bone. I don't know. Maybe in this podcast we'll get to know me a little bit, but I invented a bike that rode on the sand 16 years ago. I sold a shit ton of bicycles in Virginia Beach. I'm a bike guy, but I'm more than a bike guy. And now I'm going to take a message to this world. I like to talk, and anybody that's going to listen to the statistics, I'm an economics guy. We're not going to get the supply, but I can tell you we can go after the demand.
Mm-hmm.
And I will talk to every Sunday school class. I will talk to every elementary school class. I hope that I can broadcast this to the world because my son thought he was invincible, but he got this program. He actually got it for a little while, and he was poisoned. He was poisoned by this craziness that exists, and I believe he's on the other side. I mean, he was a powerful warrior, so I'm telling you, he had a soul contract, and he's working on the other side because I'm having people come in my life that are making this possible. And this podcast thing is crazy. I mean, I've only listened to Wes's podcast, so I do listen to Joe Rogan's every once in a while. I mean, I did listen to Joe Rogan and Trump, and that was, and I actually passed that podcast on to a couple friends that ended up voting for Trump. And I thought, because it's hard to hold a conversation with somebody and be real, because you can't. I don't know about y'all, but I'm an alcoholic addict, so I'm one of the greatest liars that probably ever existed in the world, because that's just part of the disease. Some of us are just born dishonest. I might be of that capacity, and some of us got mental problems too, but, I might be that too, but I'm not going to tell you. But today I live a life that's blessed beyond belief, and I've got you as my brother. Seriously. You introducing me to the mountain in Lakota, and has been a gift. I really feel like I've joined a spiritual family that loves me through my flaws, through my. I'm training to be a minister. My wife's been training me, and I swear a little too much for her, I guess. When she says I'm ready, I'll be ready. But
I never fucking cuss. So
but but I see the light in people's eyes, and I want to spread that light. I want to spread that light and that energy from the Father, because it's the Son and the Holy Spirit. So. And it's all about Mother Earth too. So there's the red road that I found 40 years ago that has saved me. And I believe it's ancient wisdom. It goes back hundreds of thousands of years. Isn't it interesting that on all the different continents, they all taught the same similar thing, yet they didn't have a computer or the internet to send it to all these different places. So the indigenous folks may have been onto something. So why not go back to learning what they learned and teach what they taught? So that's where I'm at today. So Wes, this has been a phenomenal experience for me. And I what you're doing with this and what you're going to do for veterans and for what you're going to do for your passion, I just can't wait to watch you grow into, you're already there.
Yeah.
You're there. So
I'm my problem.
I'm my problem too.
We got lots of cool things coming up, and I know you're looking at buying a facility. I think you should call it the Triple F Ranch.
We got a name for it already.
Yeah.
It's going to be Driftwood Farms, and if you've taken any classes with my wife, she talks about driftwood. So if you're out at sea and you're lost, and you don't know where the fucking land is, you're out there in this boat. If you start to see some driftwood, you might be getting close to some land, because driftwood comes and then the birds come, and you know what? Maybe you're going to land that ship somewhere. You're not going to be out there floating.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
So Driftwood, it's going to be the Driftwood Farms, I think, and it's going to be a healing center where we're going to bring families in. And we're going to teach families because, family always think it's the addict. It's the addict. It's his fault. If he clears up, then everything's good. But this is a family disease.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a part in it. You got the hero, the peacemaker. There's all kinds of cool things in there. But for me, I had to join a program called Al-Anon. And they say the Al-Anons are the sicker than the alcoholics. And I have to, now I'm one of them. And I think I am sicker because I think I can fix you. Yeah. That's why I'm a healer. Mm-hmm. But the power is in healing myself and seeing the reflection in you, recognizing it, and then healing it in with me. And it's like Reiki. We asked what Reiki was earlier. I light the fire in me. I come close to you so that maybe your fire ignites because only you can heal you. But if I can bring a spark to the fire, I'm bringing a spark. And if I can bring a spark to the world through my voice on a podcast, I say, let's do it. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. I love you. And we all miss Vaughn, and I love your son very, very much. So everybody, thank you so much. I am so excited to be on this part of the podcast because this is what it's about. Andrea asked me to tell my story and I didn't want to do it. So I told that part of it. Now you're going to hear it, who the fuck I am now. Yeah. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. And Eric, I love you, and I'll see you real soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.